السلام عليكم. Welcome back to another episode of Quran Weekly, where I get into the Quran every week, starting from the very beginning, reading it in Arabic but discussing it in English. My name is Ahmed, and I am alone for the first time on this series. I have had to say goodbye for now for Captain Ahmad, and I'd like to thank him for all of his support and his wisdom and his intelligence and his knowledge on the topic. I think it's been great. But I'm going to try and continue this journey on my own at the moment, because the purpose of this channel is to learn about the Quran, and I personally am curious to learn myself, so it's very interesting. That being said, this is a somewhat open invitation, maybe. I am open to reading with somebody else, so if you feel like you would like to join any of these discussions and join via call, via video, that can be arranged. Please drop a message into this channel and on this YouTube video, and we will be able to sort something out and see if we can find an agreement. But until then, I'm going to continue on my own. And we're driving back into Surah Al-Anfal, verse number 41, which is where we left off last Friday. But before we begin, I must always say that I am not a linguistic student of the Arabic language, nor am I a Quranic scholar. In fact, I haven't even read the Quran completely. This is my first read through. So the point of this channel, the point of this video is to be educational, and so that I can learn about it and share my learning with you, and hopefully you can share your learning with me. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had a few people message different perspectives on different understandings of the verses that we've been going on, and I think that's been great. I've been learning a lot from it, so I highly recommend you check out the comment section if you've got a moment. But that's all that I want to say before jumping into it. So we always say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, which means I seek refuge from God, from the devil, and in the name of God, who is most merciful and whose mercy is most encompassing. Before we start, I want to kind of clarify where we left off a week ago. A week ago, we were talking about fighting the munafiqeen, the disbelievers, fighting until they desist in their harm. Again, this is a constant theme that we see in the Quran about fighting them until they stop fighting you, and if they stop fighting you, then cease and desist. And off we go.
ما غنمتم من شيء فأن لله خمسه وللرسول ولذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل إن كنتم آمنتم بالله وما أنزلنا على عبدنا يوم الفرقان يوم التقى الجمعان والله على كل شيء قدير.
Okay, so here it's continuing from the concept of battle and that we were fighting before. وَاعْلَمُوا, and know that what you obtain as spoils of war, إِنَّمَا غَنِمْتُمْ, from whatever you obtain from anything you abstain from spoils of war, what you win from battle, then for God is a fifth of it, and for the messenger, and for the near relatives, and the orphans, and the needy, and the wayfarer. Okay, so a couple of things. It's saying a fifth of it, and as I understand, from that fifth is for God, and then I think it kind of explains what God wants to do with it, which is like for the messenger, and for the near relatives, and for the orphans, and for the needy, and for the wayfarer. The wayfarer is a common theme, the person who has been traveling and has been stuck or stranded and needs a little bit of support. So that's what I mean. Like when I first read it and I said that it's for God, I was like, why does God need spoils? And then he kind of explains that it's for the messenger and the near relatives. and his close relatives, the messenger and his close relatives, and the orphans and the poor, and the wayfarer. Which I think this is also a sign of trust that God has for the messenger, because he's knowing the messenger is not going to be like, oh, give me all the spoils and then maybe la 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 la. He knows the messenger is fair and kind and has duties and responsibilities and needs to take care of those around him. So I think I understand it, and it's very interesting. And then it says, if you believe in God and what has been sent down to our slave, and what has been sent down to our slave, on the day of judgment, the criterion. But here the English translation says, we revealed to our servant on that decisive day when the two armies. So on the day of criterion, or the day of judgment, the day that the two forces had met, and God is on everything all powerful. I find it kind of interesting to think about. First, it talks about whenever you take the spoils of war, 1/5 of them is for Allah and His messengers, close relatives, orphans, the poor, and the needy travelers. If you truly believe in God and what we revealed on that to our servant on that decisive day when the two armies met at Badr, Allah is most capable of everything. I want to try and see something if it makes sense. Ruling on the spoils of war. To try and look into the tafasir of the dua and see if it makes sense to read it live reading. But there's a lot of information. I don't think I should do this. Maybe I should prepare for this the next time beforehand. Yeah, I can do that. For now, we're going to continue as is. Again, this is a learning process. We're going to figure out what the best process is to learn to move forward. And I will adapt my process. If you have any comments or suggestions, you're more than welcome to do so. But it's likely next time I'll read tafsir before we get into it. But anyway, yeah. So the interesting that it's using the term Yawm al-Furqan, which is the day of the criterion, the day of judgment, on the decisive day. At least I think this is what Furqan means, like to be able to tell the difference between one thing and the other. The day of the criterion, okay. It's translating it as the same. And it's mentioning it as the day the two forces met. So we understand it to be at Badr, one of the big battles. Okay.
ولو تواعدتم لاختلفتم في الميعاد ولكن ليقضي الله أمرا كان مفعولا ليهلك من هلك عن بينة ويحيى من حي عن بينة وإن الله لسميع عليم.
Okay. All right. It says, and when you are on the side of the valley, on the nearer side of the valley, and they were on the other side, the farther side, and then the caravan was lower than you, and if you had made an appointment, then you certainly would have failed. I like the translation below. If the two armies had been an appointment to meet, both would have certainly missed it. Okay. So if you had made an appointment to meet, then you would have failed in the appointment. But God might accomplish a matter, ليقضي الله أمرا, that was destined. So essentially, God is saying that the reason that you met is because God destined it, so that He may destroy, or it might be destroyed, those who destroyed on clear. So that those who were to perish and those who were to survive might do so after the truth had been made clear to both. that those who were to perish and those who were to survive might do so after the truth had been made clear to both. مفعولا ليهلك من هلك عن بينة ويحيي من حي عن بينة. Those who are to perish and those who are to survive might do so after the truth had been made clear. Yes, so it says those who were destined, so that he might destroy those who were destroyed, عن بينة, on clear evidence, and let those who might live clear evidence. The way that I understand this is, I think that it's saying that the meeting of the two parties was by God, and so that those that were supposed to die died clearly, and those that were supposed to live lived clearly. And indeed, God is all hearing, all knowing. So this is kind of like just describing that specific battle, and that the moment had been predestined, as is everything, as far as I understand from the Quran. Interesting, very interesting.
يريكهم الله في منامك قليلا ولو أراكهم كثيرا لفشلتم ولتنازعتم في الأمر ولكن الله سلم إنه عليم بذات الصدور.
Interesting, very interesting. Okay, it says, and when you were shown to them by God in your dreams, so here we understand he's talking about the prophet, because this is talking about that battle, you saw them as few. You saw them as not that many, as few in number. And if he had shown them to you as many, then you surely would have lost courage, and you would have disputed in the matter. But God saved you. Indeed, he is all-knower of what is in the breasts. Very interesting, because here it shows a form of communication that God has with the prophet, and that he speaks to him in his dreams, and that he spoke to him in his dreams saying that they were fewer in number, and if he had shown them a lot of number, then they would have struggled and they wouldn't have had the gumption to succeed. But yeah, it's showing that God works on all levels, on sending a messenger to the prophet, but also when working the dreams, like that kind of just brings back to the glory of God and the capabilities that once God wants to do something, he makes sure that he ticks all the boxes to get it done, so to speak, and everything is possible for him. MashaAllah. Very beautiful.
وإذ يريكموهم إذ التقيتم في أعينكم قليلا ويقللكم في أعينهم ليقضي الله أمرا كان مفعولا وإلى الله ترجع الأمور.
Okay, so the first part of this makes sense, but the second part confuses me. So, and when he showed them to you, so like literally when you physically, and here we see you as in the plural you, when your armies met, when he showed them to you, that when you met, in your eyes, you only saw them as few, and he made you appear as few in their eyes, so that لِيَقْضِي اللَّهُ الْأَمْرَ, so that God may accomplish the matter, and that was destined. So, in other words, he made sure that the armies fought each other because they both seemed like the opposition was fewer in numbers. Like this battle was destined. And to God returns all the matters. So beyond dreams, he can also affect vision, what you see, what you perceive. Which again ties into like a more philosophical question of our reality. Is it what we perceive? Is it because like a lot of people are saying what you're seeing is an after image of light bouncing off of things, but it's not really what's there. So our perception's also not like as real as we think it is. So it's just interesting to see the effects that God can have on it, should He so desire. Again, glory be to God. This is powerful. I didn't know. Yeah, it's nice to hear how God works. Yeah. I also want to grab a headset and see if that changes, because I'm recognizing that there's an echo on as I play the Quran, and it might sound better for you guys if I switch to headphones. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, all these of you who believe, if you meet a force, then be firm and remember God very much, so that you may be successful. And that's kind of what I love about this verse is, while it is talking about history, while it is talking about what has happened, but the reason why the Quran is eternal is because this applies to the future as well. And it is trying to remind you that you have to have faith in God. You never know how things roll, or even like what people focus on in their eyes, because also there's like so much visual in front of us. What we focus on, what we pay attention to, can be the difference between a success and a failure. And there's so much room for error, and God is saying that He's in control of that error. And so the whole point of these verses is to share that He trust in Him. And when you face an enemy, stand firm, remember Allah often, so that you may triumph. Just remember God and you'll be fine. Beautiful.
وأطيعوا الله ورسوله ولا تنازعوا فتفشلوا وتذهب ريحكم واصبروا إن الله مع الصابرين.
Okay, beautiful. Also, how's the quality now, the difference between headsets and not headsets? Because I did like a test recording before, and there was an echo. I think this probably sounds better for you guys, but let me know in the comments. Either way, we'll continue. And obey God and His messenger, and do not dispute, lest you lose courage, and that would depart your strength. Be patient. Indeed, God is with the patient ones. Beautiful. Persevere. It's a message of patience. It's a message of trust. It's a message of, and this is kind of like the big lesson. It's kind of been popping up lately for me in things and videos that I've been watching, that like Western scientific perspectives is seeing is believing. You need to have evidence and proof that this is going to work out. Whereas in the Quran and the Muslim perspective, it seems to be believing is seeing, in the sense that you, even in the face of danger, even in the face of fear, even in the face of horror and abuse and corruption, you have to trust. You have to hold fast onto what you believe in. And God is with those who are patient. And it's very difficult to be patient, specifically when devastation is around. But God is with those who are patient. Ameen. Yeah.
ولا تكونوا كالذين خرجوا من ديارهم بطرا ورئاء الناس ويصدون عن سبيل الله والله بما يعملون محيط.
Okay, and do not be like those who came forth from their homes boastfully, who left their homes arrogantly, showing off to the people and hindering them from the way of God. And God is of what they do, all encompassing. So here it sounds like it's referring to a specific point in time where they were kind of describing it. But I feel like it could be also applied to this modern day as well. So people leave their homes boastfully and showing off to be like, oh, I'm so strong, oh, I'm so capable, I'm so powerful. And indeed, the biggest issue that they do is that they're hindering people from the way of God. and God is of what they do, all-encompassing and fully aware. I like the word muhit. Muhit can also translate to ocean, or like that which is vastly covering, so to speak, the entire ocean of the world, let's speak. But that's kind of an expression. But here, clear message: don't be like the ones who left their homes arrogantly, only to be seen by people and hindering people from Allah's path. Clear?
إذ زين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم وقال لا غالب لكم اليوم من الناس وإني جار لكم فلما تراءت الفئتان نكص على عقبيه وقال إني بريء منكم إني أرى ما لا ترون إني أخاف الله والله شديد العقاب.
This is interesting. Very interesting. And it now continues like from the previous verse, talking about those that were boasting and who had left their homes and said, and they were trying to stop you from the way. Here it continues, and when Zayyana lahum, it's to me like he made it seem like for them, he made it seem like a good thing for them. So when the devil had decorated for them the vision of their deeds, and he said, nobody can overcome you today. Nobody's going to overcome you from people. And I am your neighbor for you. I am by your side. I'm with you all the steps. And he kind of made them believe nobody can touch you. You're fine. You're all good. And then when it came inside the two forces, he turned away, because we know that in that specific battle, they lost. The disbelievers lost. He turned away on his heels, and he said, I am innocent of what you do. Indeed, I see what you do not see, and I fear God, and God is severe in penalty. I mean, it's a very interesting perspective, because it paints the devil as one of them, as somebody who can communicate with them freely. So it probably takes in the form of a man or in front of a person. And then as soon as they fail, he turns away and says, oh, what are you talking about? I know, I see what you don't see. I fear God. God is severe in punishment. Like, it's interesting to see Satan as a person who says and speaks things, as a character who kind of interacts. That's very, very interesting. And the fact that he says, indeed, I fear God, and God is severe in penalty, which is not the description of Satan that we see. The description of Satan that we see is normally one that is rebellious, the one that doesn't fear God, one that is trying to do against him. But I think even in this, either he's saying it and he doesn't mean it, or he actually does mean it. He means that he is afraid of God, and God is severe of punishment. And you can kind of see this back to when we had a moment where we were describing Adam and Eve in heaven, and how Satan refused to bow down to Adam, and he was angry and he disobeyed God, and then God was about to punish him, and then Satan said, wait, before you punish me, give me a bit of time so that I can lure the Adam and Eve and the people of Adam and Eve, the humans. I can lure them and I can steer them away from you. So even in that act of defiance, it was a request to be saved from punishment. So maybe Satan does know of God's severe punishment and power, or maybe he's just lying in this specific verse, and he's not. But I don't think that he's lying. I think he is aware that God can punish him, and I think it's just interesting seeing the visual of Satan telling people, oh, let's fight, nobody can beat you. As soon as they fight, oh, I don't know, you guys, I fear God, I don't know about you. It's like the first. It's such an interesting visual. There's a book called Awlad al-Hara, Children of the Alley by Naguib Mahfouz. and he described, there's a character called Idris in the books. I'm not going to spoil too much. I mean, it's also the first chapters, but he kind of is the character of Satan, so to speak. And you see this time and time again. You see this exchange where he goads people on, and then he's like, whoa, 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 I didn't do nothing. I don't do it. It's not my responsibility.
يقول المنافقون والذين في قلوبهم مرض غر هؤلاء دينهم ومن يتوكل على الله فإن الله عزيز حكيم.
I'd just like to say that I'm very happy that we're going back to the played sounds. It's very nice to just hear the Quran in almost sung. It's beautiful. It fills your heart with joy. Like it's amazing. Anyway, so, and when it says the hypocrites, the hypocrites, we've known the al-munafiqun, we've talked about them a lot, that those who have in their hearts a disease. I love that description. Those who have a disease in their hearts. This is what they say. They say, deluded are those people in their religion. So they're talking about the Muslims. They're talking about the people who have God in their hearts, and they're saying that they're deluded. And then obviously the rebuttal here is, but whoever puts his trust in God, then indeed God is almighty and all wise. And there's a kind of feeling of safety that I get. And this is kind of telling you what to do when people, and specifically in this world today, people do make fun of those who believe, do think that they're stupid or they're silly or they're not very smart. And knowing that you're putting your trust in God and God is capable of everything, and God is the Almighty and all-wise, there's a kind of like, it's a call to having peace in your heart as you deal with people who tell you that you've been deluded and been confused and you're dumb, and just lean on God for peace. Yeah.
ولو ترى إذ يتوفى الذين كفروا الملائكة يضربون وجوههم وأدبارهم وذوقوا عذاب الحريق.
Okay. And if you see, and again, this is visualized because you don't actually see it, when the taking away of souls for those who disbelieve, the angels take away the souls of those who disbelieve, striking their faces and their backs, saying وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. I don't know if the angels are saying taste the torments of fire, but because it switches tenses, it switches grammatical forms. If you see when the angels who take them striking their faces and their backs, and then it says taste the punishment of fire. So here it could be the angels saying, it could be from the perspective of God talking to those disbelievers, like a change of tense. But it makes sense that the angels would be saying it. But here, if you could see, and here, like if you could see, I think is the correct statement. If you, it's kind of like God saying, "Oh, if you could only see when the angels take them, and then they know that they're about to go and they're about to suffer." Like, ooh, like that, savor that beautiful visualization. I don't know, it would be interesting.
ذلك بما قدمت أيديكم وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد.
Yeah, so here, again, it sounds like God is celebrating and rejoicing in the pain and suffering of those that disbelieve, as if he's taking joy out of it. But he says that is of what has been sent forth by your own hands. It's a result of your own doing. Indeed, God is not unjust to his slaves. And it kind of brings back to the concept of free will. Everybody is given the concepts and ideas, and everyone has met good people and bad people and a variety in between. And everyone has a choice. Everyone has a choice to make whether or not they want to do good, whether or not they want to do bad. And this is for those that are actively disbelieving and actively fighting and hurting those. It's not just for those that are not believing. Yeah.
كدأب آل فرعون والذين من قبلهم كفروا بآيات الله فأخذهم الله بذنوبهم إن الله قوي شديد العقاب.
Okay, and then here he's making a comparison. It's like the way of the people of the Pharaoh, and those who came from before them. They disbelieved in our signs of God, so God sees them for their sins. Indeed, God is all strong, severe in penalty. And yeah, so just a thought crossed my mind. When did the Roman Empire end? 476 AD. Roughly around the time of the... when was the Muslim... time of Muhammad. 100 years before Mecca. So interesting that the pharaohs were being used rather than the Romans. I think it's just particularly interesting for me. But also, yeah, the Romans weren't really smitten by God. And if we know about anything about the Roman times, is they did embrace Christianity. That's why they became the Roman Catholics. And they used it for abuse and power. Whereas the pharaohs were staunch disbelievers and harming those that didn't disbelieve. So that would make more sense. But anyway, he's making a comparison to the people of Pharaoh and how they disbelieved in our signs, and so God sees them for their sins. And indeed, God is severe in the penalty.
ذلك بأن الله لم يك مغيرا نعمة أنعمها على قوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم وأن الله سميع عليم.
Okay. That is because God is not the one who changes his favor, that which he has bestowed on people, until they change what is in themselves. And indeed, God is all-hearing and all-knowing. And again, you see the comparison of Pharaoh, because God did bestow upon Pharaoh many blessings and many spoils and civilization and agriculture, and it was kind of amazing. But only after they changed within themselves and they disbelieved and they weren't grateful and they weren't thankful, then they suffered as a result. God doesn't discontinue his favor until the people discontinue their faith. Which is interesting to say. Does that mean that the pharaohs had faith beforehand and they had believed in God and had been grateful? I would imagine, yeah, they maybe believed in a deity beforehand, but I'm not sure. The way that this is describing it is that there is a change in faith, so that they used to have it and they didn't have it. But I don't know. I think it would make sense. Maybe in the rise of the Pharaonic Empire, it would have been faithful. I don't know. Curious.
كدأب آل فرعون والذين من قبلهم كذبوا بآيات ربهم فأهلكناهم بذنوبهم وأغرقنا آل فرعون وكل كانوا ظالمين.
Okay, like the way of the people of Pharaoh, here is continuing again, and those from before them, they denied our signs of the Lord, so we destroyed them for their sins, and we drowned the people of Pharaoh, and indeed all of them were wrongdoers. And it's always like the juxtaposition of seeing such a righteous God that smites people that don't believe. It's not just the lack of belief that's the issue, even though that does seem to be the main issue here. They denied our signs. I think it's like at least also the image, the parable of the people of Pharaoh specifically, because they're mentioned twice in this verse. The pharaohs not only disbelieved, but they also attacked those who didn't believe, called themselves as gods, and persecuted and denied anybody who was trying to spread faith in another way. Which I guess the Romans were also doing at some point, but I don't know. The Romans changed their tune, but then their empire also fell before the Quran. I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of imagine. Either way, we're saying the example is of Pharaoh and those that came from before them. They denied our signs from God, so we destroyed them for their sins. And the big issue that I have is, why is God destroying people for denying signs? But he's saying that we destroyed them for their sins. There's not just that they denied, it's that they were sinful. And here the sins are abuse, lying, murder, cheating, being unjust. So it's not just for their disbelief, but it's for their sins specifically. And we drowned the people of Pharaoh, which the drowning of the pharaohs is always such a interesting one, because they followed Moses and his people into the Nile that was split. So you see the miracle before you, and you see the work of God, and yet you still hate the people so much that you're willing to go into a miracle, bodies of water that are not connected, and you you drown in your own disbelief. Like, they disbelieved so hard that they refused to see what was a giant miracle in front of them. So yeah, it's more than just about the denying of the signs. It's also about their sins and their persistence in their disbelief, to the point of like they would rather kill than believe. And they were all zalimin, the wrongdoers, the ones that have zalim in Arabic means the one that is like unjust, like you're not being fair, you're not doing right, you're like it's very enta zalimni, which means you're not doing me right, you're not being fair to me, you know.
شر الدواب عند الله الذين كفروا فهم لا يؤمنون.
I always struggle with this, but indeed the worst of the living creatures, the creatures that walk on the earth towards God, so according to God, the worst of the living creatures according to God are those who disbelieve, and they do not believe. This is always a struggle that I have. Like, why is that the worst of humanity? Why is the disbelieving the worst of humanity? Because there are some amazing people that don't believe, you know? There are amazing people that do amazing good. I personally struggle with this. I always struggle with the worst of humanity are those that disbelieve. I think that's kind of the main verses of this, the main point of these verses and these ayat. And maybe the worst isn't. Maybe the worst isn't necessarily, because shar means evil, or like something bad. Yeah, evil, right? So the evil of the living creatures are those that disbelieve, for they do not believe. I mean, I get that it's bad not to believe, but it's also hard for me to like understand why. This is something that I still don't struggle. Maybe I'll figure it out by the end of the Quran, but I really just struggle. Why is this such a bad thing to disbelieve? And is disbelieving the same as not knowing what to believe in? Like, being agnostic is different than being an atheist. Being an atheist means that you believe there is no God, which that for me is wild. Like, how do you have certainty of the unknown? I don't have certainty that God exists. I believe with all my heart that God exists, but I don't know that God exists. I don't have confirmation. I haven't met God. I haven't seen God. Like, according to my intellect and my heart, I believe that God exists. But I don't have confirmation that he's there. So I believe, but I do not know. So I guess here it's not talking about those that don't know, don't believe, and don't know. I think it's talking about those who don't believe and know that there is no God, which is like, that's wild to me. That's wild to me. But again, I don't know why in Nasharra Dawab, in the worst of the living creatures, or the evil of the living creatures, are the ones that disbelieved. Maybe it's like a litmus test, like a form of if you believe you're good, but it's hard for me to think of that because I've met so many non-believers that are good people, you know? I don't know. Moving on.
الذين عاهدت منهم ثم ينقضون عهدهم في كل مرة وهم لا يتقون.
Okay, it continues explaining not just the disbelievers. This makes sense. Those who you made a covenant with them, and here it's talking about the prophet as we understand too, but it also can mean to somebody else in general. So not just the disbelievers, but those who make a covenant with them, and then they break their covenant every time, and they do not fear God, or they're not mindful. And I guess here's where you're talking about the belief or disbelief. It's not just the disbelievers, but it's the disbelievers that break their vows, and they're like, who cares? Nobody's watching. Nothing matters in the end. Nobody's watching. There's no one keeping score, so I'll always do something terrible. But there are people who don't believe in God, but don't break their covenants and do uphold their covenants. And I don't think this is what this verse is talking about. But thanks for the clarification, because I was struggling with it.
فإما تثقفنهم في الحرب فشرد بهم من خلفهم لعلهم يذكرون.
Interesting. So if you gain dominance over them in war, then disperse them. فشرد بهم من خلفهم لعلهم. So make a fearsome example of them. So here it says, so disperse them, make an example of them. That's interesting. Like, so for whoever, those, فشرد بهم من خلفهم. The way that I would imagine is separate them from the ones who are behind them, so that they may take heed. I wonder what happens if I take the whole verse and put it in the translator. Disperse thereby those behind them, that perhaps they will be reminded. Interesting. Let's see. I guess this is just going to say disperse, right? So disperse. So I don't see make a fearsome example of them, but maybe that's what's meant by these verses. Because what it's saying, separate, like here, as far as I understand, it said separate them from those behind them, so that they may take heed. Interesting. Like, if we're understanding it as a continuation from the previous verses, as the ones who break their covenant, it's hard for me to imagine that the ones in front are the ones who break their covenant, and the ones in the back are the ones who don't, and you want to kind of make a separation between them so that the ones in the back can remember. But I'm not quite sure I understand. Okay.
وَإِمَّا تَخَافَنَّ مِنْ قَوْمٍ خِيَانَةً فَانبِذْ إِلَيْهِمْ عَلَى سَوَاءٍ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْخَائِنِينَ.
Okay, so here it continues. It's saying, and if you fear from a people the betrayal, then throw back to them on equal terms. Respond to them permanently by terminating your treaty with them. It doesn't say terminating your treaty with them. It says على سواء, on the same, right? No, that's not whether. Then throw back to them on equal terms. If you feel betrayal, then throw back to them. If you fear betrayal, then throw back to them on equal terms. Indeed, God doesn't love traitors. If I'm understanding this correctly, it's saying it. Here it's saying if you see signs of betrayal, but that's not what it's saying. If you fear from people a betrayal, then throw back to them on the same method. I wonder if I do the whole thing, will it make a difference? Then throw back to them on equal terms. Yeah. So if you fear betrayal from them, then throw back equally. Does that mean betray them first? Because if they're going to betray you, then you do the same to them. Then aren't you betraying them? Indeed. And then it says, indeed, God does not love the traitors. I can't imagine. I think if they're going to betray you by breaking their agreement with you, then break your agreement with them. God does not like traitors, I think, is the message. Not betray them, but like break. Do unto them what they're going to do unto you, but do it in a better way, I would imagine. Just do the same, which is break the, instead of betray, just kind of openly terminating your treaty with them. That I would agree with, because that's what would be doing the same. Interesting. God does not like traitors. I've heard it's a good TV show though. Sorry, I digress.
ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا سبقوا إنهم لا يعجزون.
And they, it says, and let not think, but I don't understand. ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا سبقوا. And should they not think? Do not let the disbelievers think they can outstrip, or they're not within reach. They're outside of them. Indeed, no, but they have no escape. Yeah, I think this is a warning to the disbelievers. I think it's saying that, do not let. I kind of understand why it says do not let the disbelievers think, because this is like a message to the whole Quran is a message to the believers. But I think it's also telling the believers, and the disbelievers don't think that they can outstrip. Indeed, they cannot escape. I don't like the do not let. I don't. But it's hard to describe it without saying do not let. It's hard to make it grammatically accurate. If I translate it all completely, and let not those who disbelieve think that they will strip us. Even Google Translate added, let, indeed, they will not cause failure. They will not cause failure. This translation needs Jesus. They will not be escaped. They will have no escape. Don't let the disbelievers think that they're not within reach. They have no escape.
وأعدوا لهم ما استطعتم من قوة ومن رباط الخيل ترهبون به عدو الله وعدوكم وآخرين من دونهم لا تعلمونهم الله يعلمهم وما تنفقوا من شيء في سبيل الله يوفى إليكم وأنتم لا تظلمون.
Okay, and for the last verse of this section, and prepare for them whatever you are able to from a force and of tethered horses, ترهبون به, to terrify therewith the enemy. So prepare as mighty a force as you can to continue. It's a continuation of the disbelievers, the ones that are about to betray you, I guess. To terrify them, the enemy of God and your enemy. To deter the enemy of God and your enemy. And others from besides them. Do not. لا تعلمونهم الله يعلمهم. To terrify your enemy and others from besides them, that you do not know them, but God knows them. So God knows that there are more enemies out there than you are aware of. So prepare as much as you can, and whatever you spend from anything in the way of God, so whatever you kind of give back to God, give back to the world, then will be fully repaid for you, and you are not to be wronged. So this is all about talking about war and talking about what you should do and how you should trust God and how you deal with it. Interesting verses. It does seem to be talking about specifically about the timing of the prophet, because like tethered horses, it doesn't feel like it's a modern day phrase. It feels like it's more of an ancient time. Interesting nonetheless. And that concludes our session. So now that I've done, as usual, we always end with Sadaq Allah al-Ali al-Azim, which means trusted is the word of God, who is most elevated and most high. I enjoyed this. I think this works for me. I think that I'm learning. I think that I'm educated. I don't think I need to get into the tafasir. I think that for my first read through, the way that I'm doing it now is probably the way that I want to continue, which is to kind of just have a first read through, see what I can understand, see what I can kind of explain. And I think that by the end of it, I was feeling a lot more confident than by the start of it. But that's how things go. We still have one more week of Ramadan. I think one more week and a day. So I'm going to continue this tomorrow, back with the Ramadan daily Quran videos, where we take the last chapters of the book. As you can see, we're in chapter 8. We started at the very end. But if you've reached this part of the video, then please like, comment, subscribe. The more that we grow this channel, the more that people can see this channel, the better that we can spread the beautiful message of the Quran. And I'd like to thank you for joining me today for this session. I appreciate you. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. Ma'as salama. Bye.